phone, yes.
This is Kentuckiana's 24-hour news channel, WHAS 11. Live at 6 from the leader in television news, Gary Rodemeyer and Melissa Swan. This is Kentuckiana's news channel, WHAS 11.
Tower UN 16 is clear down runway side.
Crumbled buildings and shattered lives. That's what Kentucky's Air National Guard sees as it flies into Sarajevo. These soldiers are the people many of us know. They may live down the street from you. To them, saving Sarajevo has become a daily mission. And good evening, everyone. I'm Melissa Swan.
And I'm Gary Rodemeyer. Our lead story tonight is Kentucky's citizen soldiers.
And for more than a year, members of Kentucky's 123rd Tactical Airlift Wing have made perilous flights into Sarajevo. The news channel is the first local television station in the country to travel to the besieged capital of Bosnia and to fly in there with our guardsmen. Rachel Platt joins us now to tell us about this mission of mercy and her mission as well.
That's right, Melissa. Well, first, let's get you acquainted with the area. Sarajevo is in Bosnia-Herzegovina, which used to be part of Yugoslavia in Europe, near the Adriatic Sea. The Air Guard bases its operations in Frankfurt, Germany, nearly 700 miles from there. Sarajevo is the capital of Bosnia and sits in a valley surrounded by hills. The Serbs took control of those hills with their weapons, making it easy to fire upon the city and keep the people of Sarajevo in their crosshairs. And even though there's a ceasefire, the Serbs are still in those hillsides watching your every move. That's why it makes Kentucky's mission of mercy so dangerous.
Flaps are full.
This plane, numbered UN-16, is getting ready to land in Sarajevo,
You're down. Wilco, UN 16.
a long way from the bluegrass of Kentucky.
And Sarajevo Tower, UN 16 is clear down runway side.
You see the runway,
Clear to land, UN 16.
you sense the danger. The descent begins as pilot Craig Weissman starts the plane twisting and turning in what's known as a combat entry.
Think rate.
Blown-out buildings below are the proof of the danger in this war zone. It's sobering proof to Weissman that you can never get too comfortable on the ground in Sarajevo.
Hoping nobody's going to open fire on us, really. There's a little bit of fear involved.
Fear doesn't keep the Kentucky Air National Guard from stepping on their plane each morning at Rhein-Main Air Base in Frankfurt, Germany, where the missions begin.
Okay, today's mission purpose, of course, is humanitarian airlift.
On this day, they'll fly into Sarajevo 3 times.
Okay, let's go do it. We got
A plane full of supplies for the people of Sarajevo.
Everything from blankets to heating oil, just about everything you can think of.
Okay, starting engine checklist. Okay, clear number 3 engine. Number 3 clear.
The mission begins around 7 o'clock today. It will end about 12 hours later, right back here in Germany. The flight to Sarajevo is 680 miles. The Guard has about 2 hours before their world takes a dangerous turn. For now, the beauty of the Alps provides an ironic contrast to the destruction ahead. The crew is able to soak it in and relax.
Up until now, this flight has been pretty relaxed. The crew's been talking and joking around, but this is where things start to change. We're about 100 miles outside of Sarajevo, and if the crew's going to experience any kind of gunfire, it's going to happen in about the next 20 minutes or so.
That means it's time for flak jackets. Even though there's a ceasefire, snipers around the airport can still be a problem.
Our fighter support.
Until they get to the airport, though, they'll have the security of U.S. fighter planes escorting them in. A comfort, yes, but you can never completely relax. Co-pilot Jim Nelson is ready to take advantage of the nervous energy.
I like to call it a cautious nervousness, if anything. You kind of use that to your advantage, just to take that energy, turn it into something positive.
Navigator Jude Byerly is looking out the window as we approach Sarajevo. This is his first time in. He says until you see it for yourself, you can never get the full effect.
It was kind of spooky in a way. It was just sort of like, wow, I've been seeing it on TV, and this is what's really going on, and it's a unique experience.
We taxi in, getting ready for the French to board our plane and remove the relief supplies.
Once in Sarajevo, we're only on the ground for a few minutes, just long enough for these relief supplies to be unloaded. As a matter of fact, the stop is so short, the plane is never completely shut down, and crew members never get off the plane.
The French enjoy seeing our TV camera and mug for it just a bit. Then it's time for us to leave on our way to pick up more relief supplies. As we leave, a cemetery off to our left. Anywhere else, we probably wouldn't notice. Here in Sarajevo, it's your focal point, your own personal way of keeping track of the war and its victims.
Each time you go by, it seems like there's more bodies, more grave sites, more white stones, you know, for monuments for these bodies. And it's just makes you kind of get that drives it home that, you know, there's a lot of people that are dying.
3 pallets of beef and 1 pallet of vegetable oil.
But the mission now is to try and help the living. Kentucky's Air National Guard crew will make 2 more trips into Sarajevo before calling it a day.
Somebody needs it, and there's not anybody else who's going to get it to them. It's us, so we'll do it. And we'll do the best we can.
Now, the air-land missions, as they're called, have taken place for almost 2 years. It's all part of what's called Operation Provide Promise. And remember, most of those flights were before the ceasefire ever existed in Sarajevo. Now, tonight at 11, where do all the supplies go? Well, since the missions began, crews have delivered more than 39,000 tons of supplies and food. Tonight, for the first time, we'll track those supplies on the ground. You're going to see what the supplies are and how much they're helping the people of Sarajevo.
And they do really bring in all kinds of things,
yeah,
don't they?
people just think of cooking supplies
Right.
and things, but blankets and all sorts of personal care items, too.
That's great. Look at
WHAS 11.
Toothpaste, shampoo.
Welcomed relief supplies arrive in Sarajevo. Convoys deliver tons of supplies brought to this city under siege by Kentucky Air Guardsmen. It's a mission of mercy to a desperate people. Good evening, everyone. I'm Melissa Swan.
And I'm Gary Rodemeyer.
Try to imagine the city of Louisville without food. Most citizens depending on help from others to survive.
That's what's happening in Sarajevo, which is comparable in size to Louisville. Many of the 300,000 residents depend on relief supplies like those delivered by Kentucky's Air National Guard. The news channel is the first television station, local station, to go into Sarajevo to track the supplies. Rachel Platt joins us now to talk about those supplies and to introduce us to the people that the Kentucky Guardsmen never see.
That's right. They never do see these people. Those supplies are everything from blankets to shampoo to food. Remember, the people of Sarajevo, most of them Muslims, are completely cut off. The Serbs have surrounded the city. No one can leave, and the only things getting in are relief supplies. On the tarmac at Rhine-Main Air Base, the constant sound of forklifts.
Stop.
The sound means the belly of this C-130 is filling up with food that will make its way to the mouths of the hungry.
The MN usually tells what's in the pallet. And, the 1450 is what the average pallet weighs.
The airbase is turned into a virtual commissary spilling onto the streets. A commissary providing the basic essentials like vegetable oil for cooking, flour to make bread, or pasta to be eaten as a main dish. They're the staples of life for people who have nothing. The C-130s of Kentucky's Air National Guard are the grocery carts of the sky. As we fly into Sarajevo, we pass other C-130s on their way out. With each passing plane, we know that food has been left behind. More people will eat in the days to come. When we land, the French board our plane. The massive food pallets take all their effort to remove. In the land that once sponsored the Olympics, no medal for their hard work. The reward here is knowing you're doing something for someone else. It was during the 1984 Olympics that Sarajevo had its golden moment in history. The Zettler Sports Complex welcomed the world during opening ceremonies. Now it welcomes those who come to mourn the dead who are buried here.
His hands are going against tanks.
So he was killed?
Killed, hit by splitter in the head.
Many of the 10,000 people killed here in Sarajevo are buried here on this side of the Zetra Sports Complex. The other side, though, right under that burned-out shell of a complex used in the Olympics, is the means to hopefully keep the rest of the people here in Sarajevo alive.
This dirty, wet basement is turned into a warehouse of goodwill for Sarajevo. Humanitarian aid from the airport comes here, and not just food, even personal care items from Catholic Relief Services in the U.S.
Soap. Like this, underwear.
Boxes are stacked high today because for now the world is focused on Sarajevo. Nadine Yayanik from UNICEF warns this all may look impressive, but imagine having to feed all of Louisville, a comparable size to Sarajevo. This food won't last a week.
We never managed to get some kind of stockpiling things for the winter or to prepare for a long term to have at least 1 month of stocks if airlift stops.
From the warehouse, convoys turn into the lifeline to the people of the city and the countryside. Men, women, and children stand in line for hours, doing whatever it takes to stay alive. These faces belong to the people the Kentucky Airmen keep alive, faces they never see. It was a letter of thanks, though, from a young boy in Bosnia that put a human face on this war for many of the airmen.
It made it very personal at that point.
A letter that carried a personal message for Lieutenant Colonel Rick Ash. He's a guardsman for Louisville and commands these Mercy flights.
When one of my aircraft commanders got a note from a young 10-year-old child out of Sarajevo that thanked us personally for the food that we brought in, and I think that was a real turning point.
And remember the pasta taken in from Germany? Razmina Zebra mixes it with canned beef to feed her 3 children in Sarajevo. It's probably not something many of us have eaten, but in this house, on this night, it's a cherished meal.
We are so very grateful to UNHCR and all people who send us and deliver us food.
The thanks will never be in person. For these Kentucky Guardsmen, it doesn't have to be. This empty plane now headed back to Germany means fewer empty stomachs in Bosnia.
4 U.S. planes from Frankfurt, Germany fly into Sarajevo every day to deliver supplies. At least 8 other countries do the same thing every day, so obviously the airport in Sarajevo is a very busy place.
Rachel, how important are these supplies? It seems from watching your report, it's life and death.
It really is. With the family you're going to meet tomorrow night, the Zebra family. There are 3 boys. The mother doesn't work. Her husband was a soldier and killed in the war. That's all they have in their shelves, the relief that's brought in. So it makes the difference between life and death for them.
All right, Rachel.
Half a world away, the people of Bosnia wonder if their city will ever get back to normal. Our Rachel Platt joins us now as she continues her special series, Saving Sarajevo, Kentucky's Mission of Mercy. Rachel?
Hi, Melissa. Well, the one thing that hits you immediately in Sarajevo is how tough day-to-day living can be. Bathing is next to impossible since you rarely have running water, and you only have power some of the time. There's no gasoline for cars, so you have to walk everywhere. Then there's the struggle to find food. For one family we met, the humanitarian aid brought in by Kentucky's Air National Guard makes the difference between life and death.
There's no easy way for a 7-year-old to hold on to a shovel, but Suad Zebra holds on for dear life. He's helping his older brother Otis dig a garden. It's the only way Suad will get any vegetables, any vitamins for his tiny body that's already lost several pounds during the war.
Carrots, cabbage, everything that is green.
The vegetables you do see are sold at the marketplace, the black market. Food is so scarce it costs $15 for a head of cabbage. Suad and his family can't afford it. They'll have to wait for their garden. While Suad struggles with a shovel, you sense in the end he'll win. His determination has brought him through a war. Digging a garden should be easier. Across the field, a constant reminder of the war, a bunker. It will provide a safe haven for Suad and Otis in case shelling begins.
Even on this quiet morning in Sarajevo, you feel that Serbs are up in the hillsides watching.
I don't think the life will ever be normal again.
Maybe not normal, but there is a routine for the Zebra family. Late in the day, everyone comes together for the evening meal. Rasmina first lights the stove. They have gas coming into it because they've rigged up this tube to hijack it from a larger gas line. It's dangerous. At least 3 homes explode every day because it's not done correctly. It's a gamble Rasmina will take. It's the only way to cook for her 3 children. Rasmina doesn't debate about what to cook. There's only pasta and canned beef on the shelf. Guard flights that carry the relief in don't come with fruits and vegetables, just the basics. It's enough to keep this family alive. As the pasta cooks, Suad resembles a child for the first time. He's found some toys to play with. Harris tries to tune in the radio. He's hooked it up to a car battery to make sure it works. You can never count on there being power.
It helps a lot when we don't listen to the radio, when there is no radio at all. It's very boring, so it entertains us.
When it's time to eat, there's not much talk. Talking can happen anytime. Meals usually happen only once a day.
Life would be terrible without humanitarian aid. It's difficult enough even with it. I cannot even imagine how it would look like without it.
The bread and powdered milk round out the meal. No, it's not pizza and Coke for the kids, but you won't hear any complaints. Okay, maybe just one.
I don't complain. We are satisfied with what we've got. But maybe I would like to have fresh biscuits, because these that we have are from 1968.
The family lives here in this building, which is owned by the Bosnian Army. They live here because her husband was killed during the war. Their real home, though, is about 6 miles from here in the town of Pale. They moved out when the Serbs moved in. This is Rasmina's husband, the children's father. He was killed 2 years ago on the front lines, serving as a soldier.
I still cannot believe that he's gone, but the days have passed, and obviously he is not with us anymore. And I also don't have any close relatives who could help me, so I have to rely on myself.
The family now relies on each other. It's all they have, except for these memories of the past. This photo album is the only thing they had time to grab from their home when they fled from the Serbs. It's their only link to a life that once was, their only link to their father, who's gone forever. And so for the Zebra family, it really is a case of having to start completely over. Right now, Rasmina Zebra doesn't even have a job, so there's no money coming in. That's why the humanitarian aid is absolutely essential for her family. Now, tonight at 11, we'll go inside the hospital Koševa, the main hospital in Sarajevo. You'll meet some of the injured, including one man shot by sniper fire. You'll see how relief supplies have helped to save his leg. And you'll also meet some of the children at the hospital where the supplies are keeping them alive. Melissa?
And we're hoping that the Zebra family may be just a little bit better off tonight because of our visit.
We hope so. You're so moved when you see these people. We had some candy bars and things that we took in for ourselves and to barter with. We ended up at the end taking everything we had left by and giving it to this family. She can either give it to her children to eat or sell it at the black market for huge sums of money to help them get through.
Probably sell it, don't you think?
I have a feeling.
No candy for kids over there, too.
No, not at all.
WHAS 11.
Babies, new life coming into Sarajevo. But many of these children were born prematurely. Their chance at a healthy life rests with humanitarian aid.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gary Rodemeyer. Melissa Swan is on assignment tonight. Bosnia and its people comprise a country on the critical list. The war has forced adults and children to live in cellars for months just to survive the constant shelling. Illness is spawned by lack of food and medicine, in addition to the scars of constant battle. Rachel Platt joins me now to continue her series, Saving Sarajevo, Kentucky's Mission of Mercy. And Rachel, the fate of this country certainly still hangs in a precarious political balance.
Most definitely, Gary. And remember that 10,000 people have already died in Sarajevo, many of them killed in the war. Even the so-called healthy people haven't walked away untouched by their horrible living conditions. Tonight, we're taking you inside Sarajevo's largest hospital to show you the injured and how the doctors are relying on outside help to help their people. At the hospital Koševa in Sarajevo, doctors are looking at x-rays.
This patient was wounded by a bullet.
This thigh bone is snapped in two. It looks like someone had a terrible accident. But in Sarajevo, you know it's a deliberate act. A sniper's bullet ripped through this leg and bone, bringing a grown man to his knees. Elvir was walking in town when he was hit.
The sniper shot me, and I was just a simple civilian. I wasn't in the army.
The medical supplies holding Elvir's leg together are flown in on relief missions into Sarajevo's airport.
This patient was wounded on that massacre on the market, big market, less than a month ago, and his leg was very badly wounded.
The same shell that injured this man took the lives of 68 others in the marketplace in February. Doctors say he's lucky to be alive. Lucky again because relief supplies are coming in to help take care of him.
We depend on that aid a lot, and we will depend on it even more in the future.
One of the biggest problems in this country right now is premature births. Before the war started, it averaged about 5% of the women delivered prematurely. Now, since the war began, it has skyrocketed. It's tripled, now up to 15%. This incubator from Spain keeps this tiny child alive. He was born 2 months prematurely, weighing less than 2 pounds. Expectant mothers can't find food to keep themselves healthy. Then there's the stress of war.
Long time in cellar, long time under shells, a long time without heating.
The toll of the war shows on these mothers' faces. Their tired eyes are only lifted by the sight of their children. For a brief moment, the war is forgotten. They smile as new mothers should. But these children need even more attention. They're all premature and depend on special milk to give them the nutrients they lack. The mothers have to depend on humanitarian aid to supply that milk.
Yes, I'm very pleased that I have something to feed my baby with, and I'm grateful to people who send this food.
In another part of the hospital, other children, sick children. Nadim is swollen and has a temperature. He has blood poisoning. Most 4-year-olds can't sit still. Nadim barely moves. His mother hopes the antibiotics he's receiving will bring back the child she once knew. Down the hall, doctors pore over this medical chart, trying to keep their 8-year-old patient alive. Almar Adilovich has leukemia. He needs every ounce of help he can get. From the IV running into his arm providing nutrition, to the stuffed animal next to his bed providing him love.
He also needs painkillers because he suffers from great pain, and he's bleeding constantly. That's why he has that stuff on his nose.
Tower UN 16 is clear down runway side.
Amar might not make it, but his only chance rests with medical supplies coming into Sarajevo. Kentucky's Air National Guard may even make the delivery that saves his life. Lieutenant Colonel Rick Ash of Louisville says there's no better reward.
We like to feel like we've saved thousands and thousands of lives.
That life could be Amar's. The delivery could also help save Elvir's leg. Or it could help Nadim feel good again. Good enough to lift his head and smile. And it's obviously going to take continued medical supplies into Sarajevo before many of those children are able to smile again. And doctors say if those supplies are cut off, so is any hope for the people of Sarajevo. Now, tomorrow night at 6, the young people of Sarajevo We're going to go into a 7th grade class and talk with the children about the war and how it's affected them. It's hard to believe what these young eyes have seen, and you'll meet the girl who's drawn these beautiful pictures in such an ugly time in Sarajevo.
Rachel, I noticed this at the 6 o'clock story tonight, the zebra family,
Right.
now with the injured people. The tired eyes that you talked about, is that a result of the war?
Oh, yeah, very much so, because first of all, we talked about the day-to-day living, how difficult it is to do anything. Then you have to remember that most of these people have been in shelters, they've been in cellars for months at a time. So you put all that together and everybody just looks very fatigued. They are. It's just difficult from day to day.
Even if they're perfectly healthy.
Exactly.
On Saturday. In Bosnia tonight, there are some signs that life is returning to normal. People have come out of their cellars now that there is a ceasefire that seems to be holding, and food and other supplies are finally arriving. Rachel Platt joins me now for more of our exclusive series, Saving Sarajevo, Kentucky's Mission of Mercy. Rachel?
Thanks a lot, Gary. Well, that food is coming in thanks to Kentucky's Air National Guard. All week, we've shown you how the food and medical supplies are taken into Sarajevo on these C-130s. Kentucky's airmen have flown into the city for the past year and a half. You've seen the people who've survived because of their missions of mercy. Well, the people who've suffered most in this war may be the children. They've lived in cellars, they're afraid to go out and play, and many times they thought they were going to die.
How do you do? I'm Jimmy's mother.
It's time for these school children to do a little play acting.
I came because of Jimmy's school report. He has recited some very bad marks.
Today's lesson is English.
He hasn't worked hard.
It's the first lesson in nearly 3 months. They stayed home during the winter months because there wasn't any heat for the school. Their teacher is happy to have them back, happy for them to get back in a routine.
It is good.
Why is that important for the students?
Because they forget. When they are at school, they forget, I think. They forget a lot of things. Where's Mr. Lewis?
It's hard to forget, though, when your classroom looks like a fortress. Sandbags line the windows to protect the children from gunfire. On the outside, the school wears the wounds of battle. Most windows are broken from bullets or shelling. The signs of battle aren't so obvious with the children, but just talk to them, and they emerge.
It's very difficult for me and for all children in Sarajevo because most of them have spent a lot of time in shelters, in cellars, during the heavy shelling.
Today in Sarajevo, it's easy to find kids outside playing, but it hasn't always been like that. For 2 years, they basically lived inside and in shelters, just trying to avoid gunfire. For these children, though, this is their dream, that they can play outside and live without fear. Living without fear seems to come in spurts for these children. They grab every second of fun they can. But the sounds of UN helicopters overhead drown out the sound of children playing. The children hope one day soon their laughter will be heard again.
To play with my friends without a fear. Without a fear, the sniper will shot me or somebody else.
So your dream is to just live a normal life?
Yes.
For Jenin, though, it may be tough. He went to the hospital after his father's friend was wounded in the mortar attack at the market in February. It's hard to believe the horrors that these young, bright eyes have seen.
A lot of people without legs, arms, somebody without head. It was so difficult.
Well, I've asked him about them, but...
Layla Mulamatovich speaks English with confidence. When she talks of the war, though, there's hesitation and fear. Fear she may lose her brother, who just turned 18 and is old enough to be a soldier.
I love him, I love my family, and I don't want to lose anyway. Thanks God, I don't lose anyway.
In a room of 7th graders, there are all two typical signs of that age group. Nervous giggles and children in ball caps. But look closely and you'll see something that kids this age shouldn't be familiar with. The United Nations trying to reunite a country and a people torn apart by war.
Diana has her own way of fighting the war. She draws pictures, pretty pictures of people and fashions. She wants to be a designer. There are no pictures of war or of death. Diana says she won't draw what she's seen.
I don't think so. I would like to forget as soon as possible everything that had happened, but and I definitely will not draw my memories.
Diana says she'll try to forget what she's seen by drawing a world the way it should be. A world where she can see horses running free, or a world where children have a reason to smile. And all of the children said they want to forget the war, but they don't want to forget their homeland. We asked them if they had the chance to move, would they? They said no. Sarajevo is their home, and they want to stay. Coming up tonight at 11, what's it like to cover a war? Well, you'll see how we got into Sarajevo, and we'll show you how we got around in the city. You'll also hear from other journalists, their experiences, and their close calls. Gary?
And they opened the bridge between the Serb and the Muslim section today.
Very big deal today.
Hopeful that peace will last.
I
Thanks,
hope so.
Rachel. As a journalist, you go where the story is, and sometimes that means going to places that are dangerous, like a war zone. During the Vietnam War, 58 journalists were killed during the 10 years of the war. The war in Bosnia has claimed more than 40 journalists' lives in just 2 years. Tonight, Rachel Platt joins me with her continuing series, Saving Sarajevo, Kentucky's Mission of Mercy, to tell us about her trip into Bosnia. And Rachel, I'll tell you up front, we were here concerned about your safety when you went.
And I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't nervous going in, because I definitely was. 3 of us from the news channel took the trip. You'll meet the others in just a moment. Our first trip into Sarajevo was on this flight with Kentucky's Air National Guard as they flew relief supplies in from Frankfurt, Germany. That day, we weren't allowed to get off the plane. The Department of Defense said no. So 2 days later, we found our own way in after leaving the Guard at their home base in Germany. Our trip to Sarajevo starts in Frankfurt, Germany after 5 days with Kentucky's Air National Guard. A journalist can choose to enter Sarajevo through Croatia or Italy. Italy was an easier route for us. Our plane lands in Venice, where we catch a train. It takes us to Ancona, Italy, about 4 hours away. That's where we'd hook up with the United Nations, the folks taking the journalists in. In Ancona, it's time to board a C-130 like this one with the Canadians. We don't have any pictures of our plane. The UN was touchy about a shooting video. When our feet first touch soil at the airport in Sarajevo, we're greeted with words like, beware of sniper fire. We listened. An armored car meets us, driven by ABC staffer Chris Simon, whose voice you hear. He tells us not to take pictures of the Serb checkpoints we go through, so this video picks up after our bags are searched. The war begins to sink in. You see the destruction and the empty streets in Serb territory. Photographer Todd Newman has seen a lot, but never anything like this.
I've covered a lot of things in Louisville and seen a lot of death, a lot of fires, destruction, and things in Louisville, but it's just, you cannot imagine what this is. You cannot put it in words, and I don't even know if you can tell it with a camera, tell it with pictures. It's just incredible.
This former radio TV building in Sarajevo is our office for 3 days. The ABC folks still have their humor. The chalkboard says Kentucky Fried Chicken today. That's us. Too bad we forgot the chicken. Our transportation and armored car. Executive producer David Leugnan knows how to drive a stick shift, so it's enough to put him in the driver's seat. Now that the transportation hurdle is crossed, how about the language barrier?
Just a simple civilian. I wasn't in the army.
Was he able to move? Did he just... You've been hearing Merdijana Sardovich's voice all week. She's our translator. We call her Maggie. Maggie says she's lucky. She only lost her home in this war. No loved ones. She's a radio journalist in Sarajevo and now works to help journalists from other countries.
And it also helped me to get through all terrible things and horrors that happened to this town really helped me a lot.
Kept you busy?
Yes.
These are our accommodations, the Holiday Inn Sarajevo. There is power, but running water only once. So you fill up your tub and use the water to wash your hair or flush the toilet. It's a far cry from the way it used to be at this hotel, built for the 1984 Olympics. Believe it or not, it still costs $100 a night to stay in this Holiday Inn. Now, our room was pretty normal, but that isn't the case on this side of the hotel, facing what's known as Sniper's Alley. Take a look at this room, just destroyed by the gunfire and the shelling that went on. Take a look over here, a huge hole, wires hanging everywhere. The hillsides the Serbs occupy aren't too far at all. On the outside of the Holiday Inn, you can see the holes and pockmarks from machine gun and artillery fire. Freelance photographer Robbie Wright was shooting these pictures for ABC last year when a shell came directly at the hotel. Amazingly, he wasn't afraid.
When it's happening, is remarkably calm, and it just happens in front of you. But the time when it sort of gets scared is where you come back to the TV station, you play it the next day, and you analyse it, and you just think, what the hell was I doing there?
The strumming of a guitar helps to calm the nerves among photographers and journalists who mostly come from Australia and Cyprus. There aren't too many Americans here, only one or two besides us. The common thread, though, seems to be a commitment, despite the danger, for the world to see what's going on.
That's the best thing that we can do, is just try and show the outside world what's happening here, and hope they have a look and respond.
To tell the story, it means hours are long here. No time off in a war.
You know, it's war zone, and in war zone you don't have Sunday or Saturday. It's every day is war.
And as part of your work, you do tell the story. But here, you feel it, especially when you talk with the children.
A lot of people without legs, arms.
It's difficult not to be moved when you hear young children describing what we can't even comprehend. That's what our executive producer, David Loignan, will remember.
They've gone through more than in their 10 years. In the last 2 years, they've gone through more in their lives than any of us will ever know.
It's the faces of the children we'll never forget, or their stories. We'll always wonder if Jenin is able to play outside without worrying about snipers, or if Suad will be able to smile like this, even when our cameras are gone. And truthfully, it's not the sounds of gunfire that I'll remember. It will be the children. The other night when I ate a candy bar that I couldn't finish, I didn't want to throw it away, knowing that in Sarajevo, many of the children we met hadn't had candy in 2 years. Those are the things you remember when you get home. Now, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, look at Sarajevo, the city. We'll take you to the marketplace where 68 people were killed in February. It's back in business and absolutely packed. And you may be surprised to see people in outside cafes, but they are. Sarajevo is doing its best to get back to normal.
And we were all delighted to see all three of you come back.
We were happy to get back.
Great, thanks. And help from the rest of the world to make its comeback and rebuild. Part of the answer is supplies like food and medicine flown in by the Kentucky Air National Guard. But the Bosnian people are determined to rebuild their lives and cities, even with memories of moments like the Marketplace Massacre back a couple of months ago. Tonight, Rachel Platt continues her series, Saving Sarajevo, Kentucky's Mission of Mercy. You went back to that very marketplace.
We sure did, and it was really eerie to be there, I have to tell you. The United States is just one country that's been offering help to the people of Bosnia. The capital city, Sarajevo, is a city about the size of Louisville. 10,000 people have been killed, many of the buildings destroyed. The war has brought the city to its knees, but the people there are vowing to stand again. It's hard to imagine these streets were once empty, people too afraid to go outside. But now, thanks to a ceasefire, people have overtaken the streets of Sarajevo. There's not much gasoline for cars, so everyone walks. And everyone wants to sell. This is how many people are making money, peddling products like soap on the streets for big prices. At the marketplace, you can buy just about anything. This woman grows her own garden and can charge as much as she wants for her fresh vegetables.
1 kilo or 2 pounds of onions are about $17.
$17, you said, for about 10 onions, maybe?
Yes.
There's no shopping around. This is it. That's the price of war. So people pay the price.
It's very expensive and it's not worth it, but it's spring, we need vitamins, and there is no other way.
People here are trying to get back to living. It seems strange in a place that seems so much death. Life has to go on. The people step over the hole where that deadly shell hit back in February. This is the same marketplace where 68 people were killed. Hundreds of others were injured. Today, flowers commemorate the dead. This card reads, "To brother, you will always be in my heart." These chickens and roosters look nervously around at the marketplace, their legs tied, not able to freely move, not sure of their future. The people say the Serbs have made them feel the same way.
I don't feel safe, but I feel safer than I felt, I don't know, months ago, because, you know, there's still some shooting, you know, sniper fire and other things, so I don't feel really safe.
One of the most dangerous places is Sniper's Alley. Burned out shells of buildings are proof that the Serbs have command of the hillsides, the city, and the weapons. The graffiti says, "Welcome to hell." Residents say this is it. The head of the UN ground forces in Bosnia says everyone, even the soldiers, are ready for it to end.
And they all said to me they've had enough of it. They're not soldiers by profession. They're teachers, they're accountants, they're engineers, and they want to go back to their normal, sensible life.
Cleaning up after the war has begun. Some say it will take 2 years and $5 billion to get the job done.
We're in the center of Sarajevo, and this used to be one of the town's prettiest and biggest parks right here. Unfortunately, it's also one of the most heavily shelled areas. There used to be trees everywhere. All of those trees were cut down during the winter for heating wood.
The burning you see now is for weeds. Most people are clearing out any land they can to grow gardens. It's Meho Spia's chance at some fresh vegetables.
Well, my family hasn't seen a tomato during whole war.
Most people haven't been able to sit outside and enjoy the sunshine either. Anya Tomic tries to, but admits she always feels like someone is watching.
Not completely free. I'm still a little bit, not scared, but, you know, I don't feel very comfortable, completely comfortable like I used to, but...
Everyone agrees there's more freedom now, but they all say they still feel like prisoners. The doors haven't opened just yet.
The doors are inching open, though. Some bridges and roads have been reopened for the first time in 2 years, allowing Muslims to go into Serb-held areas. But for each step forward, another back. Today, there are reports that Serbs have looted UN relief trucks carrying food and medicine for Sarajevan refugees. And tonight, the first of our family reunions. It's really nice to see.
All right. Thank you, Rachel. See you.
WHAS 11.
Don't worry. We will be together. And we are winning definitely.
A father in Sarajevo sends his 2 children here in Louisville a message of hope. 10,000 people have died in Sarajevo since the war began 2 years ago, but he is a survivor. A ceasefire in Sarajevo is holding. It's a glimmer of hope in a city that has been blown apart by war.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gary Rodemeyer. Melissa Swan joins us live from Miami in just a minute. The news channel has provided a very personal connecting point for families separated by the war in Bosnia. Those families are separated by distance and the breakdown in communications caused by the war. They can't talk by phone, don't know if their letters are getting through. Husbands and wives, parents and children torn apart by a desire for safety and a love for their homeland. Our Rachel Platt led an effort to bring many of those families back together through letters and videotape, and she joins me now to continue her series, Saving Sarajevo, Kentucky's Mission of Mercy. Rachel?
And these were nice stories to do, I'll tell you. The Mission of Mercy came earlier this week when we showed you Kentucky's Air National Guard taking in relief supplies. Tonight's story is our mission. We gathered letters and pictures from Bosnian refugees here in Louisville in hopes that we would find their loved ones in Sarajevo. Luckily, we did. Tonight, our first reunion.
How are you? And what does your sign say? It says Kentucky.
So we would Mohammed Abdemirovich is outside waiting for us with his homemade Kentucky sign. We're bringing news of his children. He's not taking any chances we'll miss him.
Oh, so your home has been hit.
The building where Mohammed and his wife live is battered by the war.
All heavy weapons all around.
Oh, the heavy weapon.
Yeah.
Before we go inside, he points out where the gun and artillery fire have been coming from in the surrounding hills. It's everywhere. Mohammed is thankful his children are safe in Kentucky. Pictures of Iskrin and Vedra are proudly displayed on the table. Their short visit with relatives in Louisville turned into 2 years when the war broke out. Here's one. We bring new pictures of his children and letters. This is like a cool drink of water for a man who's been thirsting for word of his children for months. His son is now 18, his daughter 14. They're growing up, and he's missing it.
Well, I keep them in my mind the same as they went in the United States, you know. But when I look picture,
Mohammed compares his daughter then and now.
Yeah, she's growing up.
well, it's quite different, you know.
She's turned into a young lady.
Is it emotional for you to see the pictures?
Of course, very, very emotional, very.
What are you thinking?
Well, I'm happy on one side because they are alive, you know. This is very things, you know. This is the main aim we have achieved, you know.
You marvel that Mohammed and his wife are still alive. Bullet holes scar the porch. The building they live in has been hit from every side. Inside, though, a place the war hasn't touched, the children's bedrooms. Vedra's dolls line the walls, waiting for her return.
And all is the same like before.
I see. In Iskrin's room, it looks like he hasn't even left or will come back any day. That's the way Mohammed wants it. The calculator sits on the desk. So does a favored picture of a band.
The Clash?
Here in Louisville, Iskrin and Vedra watch with delight as they see their father and their bedrooms. It's a homecoming half a world away.
And look this after 2 years. Oh. Some person you cannot recognize.
Vedra blushes when her father talks about how much she's grown. She notices how much he's changed.
He was much thinner, he lost a lot of weight, and his hair got gray.
It is kind of weird, you know, since I haven't seen him, you know, in movement and regularly speaking to the camera and TV, you know, after so long. But I don't know, I can say it's emotional.
And we wanted Mohammed to talk personally to his children. He sent them this message.
Don't worry, we will be together, and we are winning definitely.
That's more than enough for Iskrin and Vedra. In fact, it's Vedra's dream.
All I need now is that he can come here and so we can be together and I can help him here because he helped me through my life. I want to help him. I feel like I have to help him now.
So for now, a reunion on videotape will have to do. But as soon as the war is over, this family says it will be the real thing. Together again. And we're ending this story on a happy note. The children's mother wasn't in Sarajevo when we visited. She was in Croatia trying to make her way over here to Louisville to visit the children. Well, she got into Louisville just last night, so you know there are plenty of smiles and hugs going on at a home here in Jefferson County tonight. I called them tonight. They were thrilled she got there all right.
More reunions to come in the days ahead.
Oh, yes, starting tomorrow more.
All right, thank you, Rachel. And now to basketball. Hoosier fans today were